Our next story begins with a stunning video. It has been released by the United States. This is what happened on Tuesday over the Black Sea. What you see is a Russian Su-27 fighter jet approaching the American MQ-9 drone. The Russian jet is releasing aviation fuel in the drone's path, and it's releasing a lot of it. At some point, the drone's camera stops working. This is dramatic footage for the dramatic times we live in. We've all heard tales from the Cold War, a dangerous era of tensions between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. They came very close to an actual all-out war. There were quite a few close nuclear calls too. There were times when both sides came close to pushing the nuclear button. The biggest example is the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. Today, the Soviet Union does not exist, but Russia does. And Russia is pitted against the United States. There is high tension. A Russian jet striking down an American drone is a big deal. Things escalated soon after. British and German fighter jets were scrambled to intercept a Russian aircraft. This was close to Estonia's airspace. Reports say a Russian military aircraft was seen flying close to Estonia's airspace. Now, Estonia is a NATO member state, and NATO's rules are quite clear on this. If one member is threatened or attacked, the alliance responds as one. So as the action shifted near Estonia, British and German jets scrambled in response. They intercepted the Russian aircraft. Reports say the Russian aircraft failed to communicate with Estonia's air traffic controller. And such interceptions are not unprecedented. In fact, they happen all the time, about 400 times a year. You heard that right. NATO jets are involved in about 400 interceptions a year with Russian aircraft. That is more than one interception a day. So this one was not unusual. But it was serious given the context and the situation right now. There's a war raging on in Ukraine. Russia and America saw a mid-air collision. Even one step off the mark could lead to disaster. It seems the US and Russia are trying to avoid that. Their defense ministers spoke with each other. So did their military chiefs. The Russian defense minister told his American counterpart that American drone flights near Crimea's coast were provocative in nature and could lead to an escalation. In fact, let me quote from what he said. Russia had no interest in such a development, but will in future react in due proportion. This means Russia will not escalate this incident, but if it happens again, there will be an escalation. Back in Washington, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin had something similar to say. Listen to this.
I won't speak for Minister Shoigu, nor will I get into the details of our discussion. I'll just reiterate that the United States will fly and operate wherever international law allows. Now, we take any potential for escalation very seriously, and that's why I believe it's important to keep the lines of communication open. I think it's really key that we're able to pick up the phone and engage each other.
Meanwhile, Russia is trying to retrieve the debris of the crashed American drone, and this may pose another challenge. Because remember what the drone was doing. It was gathering intelligence. It was on a reconnaissance mission. It was collecting intelligence for the US, possibly for it to be shared with Ukraine. Moscow would want to examine it. And even without the intelligence, the drone's wreckage could be useful to Moscow. Russia would be interested in the drone's technology, how it was built, what led to the crash, perhaps even its potential weaknesses. But recovering the debris will not be easy. This area where the drone fell has a depth of 4,000 to 5,000 feet. And before it crashed, the US is said to have wiped out all the data in it. So whatever intelligence was collected may have been removed before the crash. Yet Russia wants to try its luck. What about the US? Will the US also look for the debris? Highly unlikely. Recovering the remains would require the involvement of the American Navy. And the American Navy in the Black Sea, in the middle of Russia's war in Ukraine, would set off a chain reaction. If the drone crash did not escalate into a conflict, the US Navy's presence in the Black Sea definitely will.